Joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Arise news analyst Emmanuel Ifeni. Good afternoon, Mr. Ifeni. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Cynthia. Good afternoon, Nee.
Nice to see you.
My partner is not here.
You're missing him, aren't you?
Well, shout out to Dio. He's slightly indisposed, right? We'll be fine. Well, we'll start the review with These Days, Nigeria's newspaper of record. We'll start with the story above the lead. Tinubu, slain army officers, soldiers will be given befitting burial, national honors. Charges National Assembly committees to be cautious in summoning heads of ministries, departments, and agencies. Killers of military personnel must be seen, treated as criminals. Diri declares, Doye Diri, the governor of Bayelsa State. Senate warns against harassing, punishing innocent Nigerians. Yes, the president yesterday declaring that those soldiers who were cut down in that heinous attack on military personnel will be given befitting burial, national honors. Well, soldiers who lost their lives in the line of action. Unfortunately, this was not even a war situation, but it's also fitting that the country, as we mourn these gallant officers and soldiers, that they are given a befitting burial, and the president had added that they will also be given national honors. But as the military also go from one state to the other, Delta to Bayelsa to Rivers, looking for the perpetrators of this heinous crime, they must also be mindful of not punishing innocent citizens who have nothing to do with the attack on soldiers on that day. And the Senate Committee on the Army, Navy, and the Air Force have also come out to caution the military not to punish innocent civilians who have nothing to do with the attack on soldiers just because they live in communities where they suspect these criminals are hiding does not make them to be culpable. Fish out the perpetrators. Don't punish innocent citizens. The citizens who burn their houses today who don't have anything to do with the criminals, how do you compensate them? But if you do, somewhere along the line, if they are too poor to seek redress, I'm sure people will also help them to seek redress. So the military has to be cautioned, and they are being cautioned to, please, don't overstep your bounds by punishing innocent citizens just because there is suspicion that perhaps the criminals have run to one community or the other. Fish out the criminals so that they will be brought to book to answer for their crime. But in the process, you don't also have to commit crimes. Now, the lead story of These Days newspaper, if we go back there quickly, CBN, we have settled all valid Forex backlog, declares all encumbrances to market confidence. Nigeria's ability to meet its obligations now totally behind us. Naira makes significant gains, reaching 1,490 Naira to the dollar at parallel market. NAFEM closes at 1,496 Naira. Abdullahi reiterates Apex Bank's plan to recapitalize banks, says Forex volatility moderated. Well, there's some appreciation, the value of the Naira at both the parallel and the NAFEM windows.
But how sustainable?
Well, that is the big question. We just hope it will be sustained.
Is hope a strategy?
Hope is not a strategy, but if you also take into cognizance the facts that the CBN governor promised to clear all the backlog, FX backlog.
Yeah, he did.
And he has fulfilled that promise. So there's something to look up to. The things are looking up, promise made, promise fulfilled. But, that was after a proper audit that showed that $2.4 billion being regarded as backlog. You cannot trace it to anything. So I don't think we should just end there. Who are those behind that invalid claims? We need to get to that root. Otherwise, but for the due diligence done by the CBN governor, another $2.4 billion would have just left the country.
Indeed.
That, backlog in the name of backlog, the confusion. But kudos to the CBN. So there's something to cheer about, Cynthia.
Hallelujah.
I'm optimistic about
it's a leaky bucket you have to fill at some point, regarding this. So it won't, be business as usual, as it were.
Yeah. Okay, the Vanguard newspaper, of course, the lead story also, killings, troops comb Bayelsa Delta Creeks for militant leaders. Demolition of buildings in Okwama continues. That's a sad one. Senate Joint Committee holds meeting with service chiefs. Killings of soldiers inhuman, devilish. Ijaw Youth Council. Delta Assembly condemns killings, calls for thorough investigation. Chief of Defense Staff asks federal government to address deteriorating civil-military relations, because we need to investigate this matter. How what was supposedly a peace mission turned this bloody, and we had so many officers and men killed in the process. So this whole episode need to be thoroughly investigated. How a peace mission, what was a peace mission, turned out to be this bloody.
Absolutely.
What ignited this kind of anger? No justification.
None whatsoever.
Yes.
One of the other things that you brought up now about the destruction of some buildings. There are some allegations being made that the military is trying to set up or build barracks in Okwama. So I believe we might be speaking to the Commissioner of Information later on to confirm or deny, but we would like to know.
Well, the military
sure.
on its own cannot just decide to build a barrack.
I know.
That is a political decision. That is a civil authority decision.
So do you think there's any...
military cannot just take over a village and build their barracks. That has to be a political decision.
So you don't think it's happening?
Well, it should not happen. Because it will mean you are aiding one community against the other. Because both communities have been having this crisis, conflict over who owns where, right? So you don't go and take one community's land.
And especially considering what has preceded it.
You will not be solving any problem. So I just want to assume that is just speculation. The military cannot just decide to take over Okwama community on their own. No.
Ordinarily, that's why I mentioned yesterday.
They are subject to civil authority, and they must remain subject to civil authority.
Indeed. That's why I mentioned yesterday that the whole area should be treated as one big crime scene, because the clues that led to the deaths of this, military personnel could be lying there. And unfortunately, the displaced people that could also volunteer information regarding what actually happened, are no longer in the vicinity. And the
military condoned that place. The governor did not have access to the place. The police commissioner in the state has not visited the place. He cannot visit the place. Journalists cannot visit the place. So I hope there's no cover-up.
I understand the journalists not being able to go there, because like Nee said, it's still one big crime scene or should be treated as such. But for police that also have the history of obviously investigating situations like this, I don't know why they would not be able to have access.
For the governor, who is the chief security officer of the state, not having access to the place. Well, okay, let's just look at the Guardian newspaper quickly. Federal government spends 6 trillion naira subsidy on available electricity in 10 years.
Oh my.
Well, subsidizing so much.
That's one of the leaky buckets I've been
But the federal government does not want to touch the issue of subsidy on electricity for now. For now, it's something we have to look at critically. But let the metering process that is going on now, let it be total, not only government offices and barracks, so that when these discos don't supply lights, they don't get paid. But now they just fleece those who don't have meters with this so-called unestimated billing and get money for services not rendered.
Indeed.
Well, if we just look at the New Telegraph newspaper, reps approve new salaries, allowances for judicial officers, extend 2023 supplementary budget execution to June 2024, proceed on Easter salary break till April 16. Well, the judiciary, especially at the level of the Supreme Court and the Appeal Court, they are being given improved salaries and allowances. But it's not applicable to state judges for now. I think there should be a holistic approach to the remuneration of judges and judicial officers because if you look at the figures before now, not something that is encouraging, especially given the kind of work they do. We need to encourage the judges also, so that they are not also vulnerable to people who want to throw some money into the fray. Yes, in the quest for justice at the various courts. Now, the Daily Trust newspaper, controversy trace leaked list of terrorist financiers. NFIU disowned memo. 4 of 6 indicted BDCs not registered with the CAC.
That's on the Daily Trust.
Case, yes, the Daily Trust newspaper, yes. Case already in court, government officials. Well, the list of those financing terrorism published recently. Why this controversy, you will ask? There is a list somewhere. Which is the official list? And why is the NFIU disowning a memo credited to it?
More questions. Any foreign stuff?
Yes, let's look at the foreign newspapers quickly. We'll just take the Daily Telegraph newspaper. Yes, the Daily Telegraph newspaper. Mental health culture has gone too far, says Mel Stride, the Works and Pension Secretary. A lot of people don't want to work. They just want to claiming mental health issue.
That doesn't sound like a bad plan.
No, what is it? Over 150,000 people who are receiving benefits on account of that they have mental health. And they're saying that, look, it's not every anxiety you just say, I have mental health.
If I approach you as my DMD and tell you that I'm experiencing this, are you telling me you won't give me what I need to recover?
I will ensure that you are not just assuming that anxiety is mental health, because it is not. And that is what they are dealing. That's what they are dealing with in the UK, and the Works and Pensions Secretary saying people should just go back to work. Go back to work.
I'm sure
so that would be your response to me.
No, because the benefit bill is getting higher and higher.
Okay.
Yes, well, we don't have such benefits here, mind you.
All right. On that note, Emmanuel Ifeni, would like to thank you very much for your thoughts on this newspaper.